Good morning. My name is William Rios Maldonado. I am the director of the procurement office for the CDBG-DR program in the Puerto Rico Department of Housing. We welcome and thank you for your interest in participating in this RFP for program management services for the non-federal match program. Our best hope that you and your families are doing well in this extraordinary time. Along with me this morning is Laura Pagan. She's the Deputy Director of the Procurement Office, Attorney Winnet Cortez and Attorney Joel Ocasio, Procurement Specialist of our office, Engineer Shirley Virriel, Deputy Director of Infrastructure Grant Management, Attorney Maria del Carmen Figueroa, Assistant Deputy Secretary for Disaster Recovery, Engineer Agustin Rodriguez and Attorney Emily Rosa from our Grant Manager, Horn. This morning, first, we want everybody to be aware that this meeting is being recorded. You may submit questions using the chat section of this meeting, though the answers will be published via addendum in the CDBG-DR program website. This meeting is intended to underline some important matters for this procedure, but of course does not substitute your careful reading of the RFP instructions, any published addenda, and the procurement manual in order for you to be in the best position to submit a responsive proposal. Now, I would like Winnet to continue to cover these matters for your best information. Thanks. Winnet.
Good morning to all. I'm Winnet Cortez. I'm talking about the scope of services. This RFP seeks to select a proposers to provide management services for non-federal match program to support the CDBG-DR program. Details for the services are included in the attachment 1. This attachment is the scope of services. In this program, CDBG-DR funds are used to match the required non-federal cost share match portion of FEMA eligible project worksheets. CDBG-DR funds may not be used to expand a project beyond what is approved by FEMA in a PW. Additionally, the project must implement a CDBG eligible activity and meet a huge national objective. Benefit to low and moderate income persons, aid in the elimination of slums or BLAIR or urgent need, also to provide services to the Individual Assistance Match Program, FEMA's Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program, and Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. The term for this contract or services are being requested is 2 years, which may be extended to 1 additional year. About the liquidated damages, this RFP provides for liquidated damages as related to established timeframes of performance. The PRDOH and the proposer will agree on the timetable for the deliverable of each task. For this RFP, the PRDOH established as liquidated damages 100 for each calendar day that a deliverable required is late until deemed in compliance, subject to a maximum of $1,000. About the insurance requirements, the proposers shall be aware that in case of resulting selected for the award of this RFP, proposer must have a minimum of required insurance policies and coverage. For details regarding insurance requirements, refer to attachment 4. This attachment is insurance requirements and appears in the RFP instruction. Now, Maria del Carmen Figueroa will talk about Section 3 and MWBE.
Section 3, preference of 5 points, Section 3, businesses concerned, and MWBE. The PRDOH recognizes its obligation to promote opportunities for maximum feasible participation of certified minority and woman-owned business enterprise, and the employment of minority groups, members, and women in the performance of their contracts. All participating entities engaged with PRDOH must make a commitment and demonstrate an acceptable good faith effort toward the achievement of PRDOH, MBE, and WBE subcontracting goals of 20% of the entire contract value, consisting of 10% of MBE and 10% for WBE participation. The PRDOH shall provide a preference of 5 points in the evaluation criteria of the method of rating for a greater participation of Section 3 business concern and MWBE registered Puerto Rico business. The proposers seeking the Section 3 preference must be able to demonstrate that they meet one of the following criteria: 51% or more owned by Section 3 residents, or has permanent full-time employees, at least 30% of whom are currently Section 3 residents, or within 3 years of the date of first employment with the business concern were Section 3 residents, or has subcontracted or a commitment to subcontract in excess of 25 of the dollar per dollar award of all subcontracts to be awarded to such business described above. At the end of this section, we will share a presentation about federal civil rights compliance and labor standards. Now I head it to Joel.
Thank you. All RFP documents will be available or are available for download at the CDBG-DR website, www.cdbg-dr.p.gov/en/procurement-documents. There are some important dates that you should take note. The public notice of the RSP was on September 22, 2020. The submission of questions and requests for clarifications will be from October 5, 2020, 4 p.m., and the responses will be posted by October 13, 2020. The proposal's due date will be on October 21, 2020 at 8 a.m. and will be received until October 23 at 4 p.m. The proposers shall submit all questions in writing on or before October 5, 2020 at 4 p.m. to the electronic website of the CDBG-DR mailing address. Responses to all proposed questions will be answered by addenda and will be posted on the CDBG-DR website. All documents pertaining to the procurement process, including addenda issued by the PRDOH, are and will be available for download at our website. All prospective proposers must monitor our website to retrieve addenda, if any, issued for the procurement process. We will receive the proposal by electronic submissions. Responses to the RFP will only be accepted by electronic means. Proposers are advised that the PRDOH will neither require nor proposal submissions. If proposals are submitted in both electronic and in paper formats, the PRDOH will only consider the electronic format for evaluation.
The proposer will receive access to submit the electronic proposals after registration process is completed through the CDBG-DR website. Proposers will be requested to provide any valid email address. Proposals must be submitted on or before October 23, 2020 at 4 p.m. Access to upload the electronic proposals will commence 3 business days prior to the scheduled date and time. Prior electronic proposal submissions on the CDBG-DR website, proposer must take into consideration the following. Check your internet connection before starting to upload an electronic proposal document. As the due date time draws near, heavy traffic on the web server may cause delays. Plan ahead and leave ample time to prepare and submit your proposal. Proposers bears the risk of website inaccessibility due to heavy usage and the final hours before the RFP closing time. The website will not allow registration past the scheduled due time. If the proposer starts the registration process close to the scheduled due time and the proposal submission deadline closes, the system will not allow to complete the registration. Therefore, the proposer will not be able to upload the proposal documents. If the proposer starts the proposal upload close to the scheduled due time and the proposal submission deadline closes, the system will not allow to complete the proposal documents upload. Therefore, the proposal will not be considered. The proposer must submit the mandatory requirements, qualifications, and work approach, and the cost proposal requirements in the identified sections of the website. The documents must be submitted in PDF format. PDF format search is recommended. Multiple PDF may be merged into one size document. Also, multiple files may be required in a zip file. The maximum upload size for each document or compressed file is 500 megabytes. The proposer is solely responsible for on-time submissions of the electronic proposal. The PRDOH will only consider electronic proposals that have been transmitted successfully within the RFP requested format. During document upload process, the proposer will be able to click on the documents and have a preview of the uploaded document. Incomplete electronic proposals with errors, or if viruses or corrupted files are found after the upload, will not be accepted. During the submission period, proposers experience any technical difficulties may contact the PRDOH at CDBG-DR-procurement@vivienda.pr.gov. If CDBG-DR website fails during the submission period on or before the scheduled time deadline, the PRDOH will provide instructions via addendum to the proposers. Once the electronic proposal is submitted, the proposal is locked in the system until the PRDOH completes its evaluation. Therefore, the proposer must assure that all documentation required by the RFP has been correctly uploaded at the submission due date. The proposer must be aware that modification to electronic proposals will not be allowed once the submission is completed. Now I will leave you with Laura Pagan, who is going to explain you the evaluation criteria.
Thank you, Joel. These RFPs include the following evaluation criteria. First of all, you will see mandatory requirements sections. All mandatory requirements will be scored as either pass or fail. Failure to comply with all the mandatory requirements of this RFP will result in disqualification of the proposers. Among others, mandatory requirements include financial requirements. For this section, PRDOH will be asking the proposers to submit audited, review, or compile financial statements for the most recent 2 years, issued by a certified public accountant and prepared in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. The financial statements must include a balance sheet, statements of operations, statement of cash flows, and notes to the financial statements. Also, a copy of income tax returns for the same 2 years. If a proposer has more than 1 year in operation but less than 2, please provide the requested information for the last fiscal or calendar year. Most recent interim year-to-date financial statements for a period ending not later than 60 days before the proposal submission date. The interim financial statements must include at least balance sheets and statement of operations. A line of credit or cash availability is going to be requested. A total rating of 70% or more is required to obtain a rating of pass for this section of the mandatory requirements. It's important to mention that all notarial documents secured outside the Puerto Rico jurisdiction shall be authenticated and subsequently needs to have a certification from the Secretary of State, County Clerk, or corresponding authority of the state government. Notarial documents executed in one of the Hague Convention of 1961 participating countries shall include a corresponding certification issued pursuant to the same Hague Convention of 1961. Documents executed in countries which are not signatories of the Hague Convention 1961 must be authenticated by the corresponding authority of the United States. About qualification requirements, this section will have a total maximum score of 40 points. Qualification requirements includes, among others, comparable projects. For this section, the proposer must provide at least of 3 projects within the past 2 years in which the proposer's program manager or deputy program manager or team members or first-year subcontractors has provided under contracts with grantees of federal grants. Contracts submitted must demonstrate similar program management services for programs that combined had a minimum allocation of 50 million and a minimum combined quantity of 5 subrecipients. Please be aware that for this information, you may use one of the exhibits that it's provided in the RFP package. Key staff related to the engagement as identified in the RFP instructions and scope of services will also be required pursuant to the roles, responsibilities, requirements established in the scope of services. For purpose of the references, each proposer shall provide at least 3 past or current client reference for program management services, non-federal match program. Proposers will provide for each reference the client name, contact person, phone, email address, and description of services provided in Exhibit L, reference information. The PRDOH will send via email to each reference provided a performance rating questionnaire to the contact person identified in Exhibit L. The PRDOH will require a response to the PRQ within 5 business days from the date sent. The PRDOH reserves the right to extend this period as may deem appropriate. It's important to mention that PRDOH will not be responsible for references that are not received during the established period. Regarding the work approach, each proposer shall draft and submit a work approach document as part of the proposal. The program management firms will assist the PRDOH in the implementation of the CDBG-DR non-federal match program. These or these program management firms will work closely with PRDOH, its authorized representative and eligible subrecipients to accomplish the identified task on the scope of work and may be required to coordinate with other firms contracted by PRDOH that will be providing services regarding other CDBG-DR programs. They will be responsible for the review and necessary coordination of all documentation or work related to the NFMP, Non-Federal Match Program, and complete all evaluation processes for each of the projects submitted to the Non-Federal Match Program. I will ask Engineer Agustin Rodriguez Rosado, Manager for the Non-Federal Match Program, to provide us with a briefly explanation of the program general description and summarize the services related to this RFP and how the proposers will provide costs for the services in Exhibit O, cost proposal of the RFP.
Thank you, Laura. The general description for the non-federal match program will include that the program uses CDBG-DR funding to reimburse municipalities, government agencies, and private non-profits for crucial disaster recovery and reconstruction projects. The program participants who are awarded grants from the FEMA Public Assistance Program will receive payments for the non-federal share of their expenses for CDBG-DR eligible costs. All PWs must have been previously obligated by FEMA PA. The Global Match Program seeks to provide the cost share corresponding to 25% of the total FEMA HMGP or Hazard Mitigation Grant Program approved projects up to $1 billion. Funding is projected to come out of the mitigation grant allocation. The scope of services for this RFP includes tasks related to match payments for the FEMA public assistance projects and hazard mitigation grant projects. The non-federal match program has been launched on September 2019 and has already 78 municipalities and half of the state agencies opted in for the program. Basically, the distribution or allocation for the CDBG-DR fund match payments under this program are based on the Hurricane Maria split of 90% of funding from FEMA and 10% from CDBG-DR funds, and 75% share from FEMA for Hurricane Irma projects, and 25% CDBG-DR funds for Hurricane Irma related projects. The non-federal match program will cover as eligible entities, municipal governments or municipalities, state agencies, and non-governmental organizations. Eligible activities under the non-federal match program include FEMA projects under Category A, which is debris removal, Category B for emergency protective measures, and Category C through G, which include permanent works. Category C PWs or projects for FEMA public assistance are not covered by the non-federal match program. Eligible project types under those categories include small projects, which for these disasters are projects that have an estimated cost of $120,100. Large projects which have a estimate greater than that number, and Section 428 projects, which shall include major infrastructure projects allocating multiple large projects into one single PW. Each type of project may require a different approach described in the RFP documents. For this RFP, for this program, the total allocation up to this point is $1 billion for match payments, the fund distribution method is a direct and subrecipient distribution model, which implies that the Department of Housing will execute agreements directly with each participating entity to provide match funding. The assumptions made for the request for proposal for these services include considering 5,000 projects among FEMA projects and maximum of 700 of subrecipients considered for those services. Related to the tasks included under the request for proposal, they may be divided into 3 main tasks, mainly for the FEMA public assistance part that include, on the first task, include outreach and training, project pre-evaluation, the subrecipient agreement execution, and the subrecipient vendor services procurement process. Under task 2 for FEMA public assistance, it includes project worksheet prioritization and retrieval, environmental review and clearance, selection of cost for review and CDBG-DR eligibility check, cost documentation review, procurement documentation review, labor compliance review, duplication of benefits review, and the review completion and recommendation. For task 3, for FEMA public assistance projects, it includes match payment, the SRA project, and the project closeout, and the reporting of every aspect. For HNGP, for the HNGP part of the services includes task 1A, that includes the project pre-application evaluation and the pre-application drafting for each HNGP project. The basic structure under the non-federal match program, be that the one displayed on the screen. This includes the participation of the program manager between the Puerto Rico Department of Housing and the subrecipient. Program manager is in charge of managing tasks related to the non-federal match program directly, while the subrecipient manages the development of those FEMA projects assigned to the entity. For this RFP, there are several positions that shall be considered. The positions considered as key staff are the ones presented above, including the program manager, deputy program manager, administrative assistant, and outreach and training coordinator. The key staff are resources that shall be ready to begin within 2 weeks after the contract execution, and shall be considered working full-time through the term of the contract. For the rest of the necessary staff, we have an IT support technician, administrative assistant, eligibility manager, and an eligibility analyst, which are the staff and resource considered for the evaluation of the services. Staffing identified as special services include the environmental consultant, construction oversight engineer and architect, and the insurance consultant that shall be included into the RFP services and will be required by the PRDOH in an as-needed basis. General notes applicable to program staff, PRDOH reserves the right to establish an hourly cost cap per each subtask described in attachment 1, scope of services, cost cap may vary according to project approach, taking into consideration if the project is managed using a standard match or flexible match approach, which are described in the RFP document. Cost cap may be also negotiated based on standard rates, here being proposed in the event that PM services are required for global match project implementation phases. Selected proposers must receive written authorization from PRDOH or its authorized representative before using any resource position. Costs incurred by the selected proposer without PRDOH or its authorized representative pre-authorization will not be compensated. PRDOH reserves the right to award project management services to one or more proposers. The services contracted to this RFP will be available in a tiered manner as per the funding allocation from HUD. Additional services may be contracted or added through amendment as funds become available. For general cost estimating notes, proposers are required to study all information included in the project action plan. Proposers are required also to study the program guidelines and cross-cutting requirements applicable to the non-federal match program. Proposers are required to familiarize themselves with information regarding title storms, in this case, Irma and Maria, both national objectives, eligible activities, eligible entities, goals and objectives, and the method of distribution for the program. The assumptions on sub-recipients and projects are for evaluation purposes only. These numbers do not necessarily represent the final numbers to be contracted. PRDOH reserves the right to award project management services, as stated before, to one or more proposers. The total proposal cost represents the potential cost for the services requested for all the program management services required. Based on the number of proposals finally awarded through this RFP, contracts might be signed to manage quantities of sub-recipients and projects lower than those considered in this request for proposal. And all cost forms provided must be completed. Cost forms fields left in blank will be considered as zero cost services. To go over the cost form, I will illustrate the cost form in your screen that is submitted by each proposer. Cost form includes on column A, the staff positions. Column B shows resource quantity of retained equivalent assumption for each staff. These numbers are considered management services. These numbers are considering management services for assumed projects and sub-recipients. Column C assumes maximum number of hours per month. In column D, the proponents will indicate the hourly cost rate for each staff without considering overhead or profit. This hourly cost only shall consider benefits. Fields left in blank will be considered as zero for staff positions. Column E is the monthly cost calculation. Column F includes the sum of the monthly cost of each resource type, while fields G and I shall indicate the profit and overhead percentages, respectively. The costs associated with both of these percentages are to be included in fields H and J. The total monthly cost for all staff must be indicated in field K, while the total for the 24-month term considered for these RFP services must be indicated in field L. For comparison purposes, the monthly cost must be presented assuming 24-month term. This is not necessarily the term for contracting the selected proposers. I will be transferred back to the legal team with Laura, continue with the preview.
Thank you, Agustin. Proposals, as you may know, proposals in the RFP instructions, proposals will be scored using a best value methodology. Proposals will be evaluated on technical capabilities, namely the proposer's qualifications and work approach, and score for each criterion will be assigned based on the maximum allowable points stated in the RFP. To be considered a qualified proposer, proposers need to achieve a technical score greater than or equal to 70 points. It is important that all proposers and first-year subcontractors must be registered in the system for award management at the time of the proposal submission or initiate the registration process right after the proposal submission. For more information about the system for award management, go to the www.sam.gov. There is no registration fee to create or renew or update your organization's information in SAM. Awards will only be issued to entities which are cleared and not ineligible for award of a contract due to suspension, debarment, or hot imposed limited denial of participation. Now, the Assistant Deputy Secretary for Disaster Recovery, Maria del Carmen Figueroa Correa, will be sharing with us an introduction to federal civil rights and compliance and labor standards. Maria.
Thank you, Laura. Let me share my screen so you can see the presentation. There you go. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the time to present our Introduction to Federal Civil Rights Compliance and Labor Standards Pre-Submission Training. This presentation is prepared in English. However, should anyone need this presentation in Spanish, you can request using the protocols for the RFP to submit the request. Si alguien necesita esta presentación en español, puede utilizar el proceso de entregar preguntas de este RFP para solicitar esta presentación en español. My name is Maria del Carmen Figueroa, and I'm the Assistant Deputy Secretary for Disaster Recovery, and also lead for civil rights compliance areas. Today, we will discuss compliance roles and responsibilities, introduction to compliance areas and tools online, policy, training, and reporting. And of course, we will have frequent asked questions. Your RFP has 3 areas that speak to civil rights compliance. The first speaks to MWBE participation goals. Minority and woman-owned business enterprise, 3.9. The PRDOH recognizes its obligation to promote opportunities for maximum feasible participation of certified minority and woman-owned business enterprise and the employment of minority group members and women in the performance of contracts. All participating entities engaged with PRDOH must make a commitment and demonstrate an acceptable good faith effort toward the achievement of PRDOH, MBE, and WBE subcontracting goals of 20% of the entire contract value, consisting on 10% of MBE and 10% for WBE participation. It also speaks about the submission of a Section 3 plan and Mwbe utilization plan and provides you direct links to resources that will help you understand in detail Section 3 and Mwbe. This presentation will provide an overview of the information available in those cited resources. Finally, in Section 7, of the 00 point Request for Proposals Program Management. The PRDOH shall provide a preference of 5 points in the evaluation criteria of the method of rating for a graded participation of Section 3 business concern and MWBE registered Puerto Rico business. This presentation will cover the basic on how to identify and qualify as a MWBE business. Compliance in civil rights includes the following areas. Section 3, training, new hiring and contracting opportunities compliance, minority and woman-owned business participation compliance, fair housing and equal opportunity compliance, and Davis-Bacon and Related Act compliance. This training focuses on Section 3 and MWBE. We are dedicated to empowering our contractors and subrecipients and have created a culture of compliance. Roles and responsibilities for PRDOH include providing CDBG-DR guidance tools and templates, sponsoring trainings sessions, collecting information in reports and compliance documents from contractors, complete reviews of reports and providing feedback, gather data from contractors from quarterly reporting, report to HUD for civil rights compliance areas for CDBG-DR. All contractors and subrecipients using CDBG-DR funding have certain roles and responsibilities regarding federal compliance. Those include assigning staff who will attend to the day-to-day activities for civil rights compliance, attending trainings and workshops, executing activities and documentation needed, completing quarterly reporting, using tools and templates provided by PRDOH, participating in PRDOH-sponsored technical assistance, and complying with reporting. Let's begin with compliance for Section 3. Today, we will briefly discuss some of the basics related to this topic area. Section 3 is a federal requirement from the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968. It states to provide to the greatest extent feasible job training, employment, contracting, and other economic opportunities generated by certain HUD financial assistance shall be directed to low and very low income persons and businesses. The Department of Housing has policy documents that use a practical approach to help contractors and subrecipients understand the commitment to these compliance areas. We focus on highlighting how Section 3 businesses can be identified and the types of efforts that contractors and subrecipients could implement to show their compliance. We encourage all to review and these are available online publicly in Spanish and English. Puerto Rico has a great potential to engage Section 3 candidates ranging from new graduates from universities or trade schools, residents or of public housing, those who receive federal benefits, and those impacted by COVID-19 job losses. A Section 3 resident is an individual who is currently a public housing resident or an individual who resides in the metropolitan area or outside of the metropolitan area in which the Section 3 cover assistance is expanded, and who is a low-income person or a very low-income person. Individuals who meet the 2019 or 2020 income limits for Puerto Rico as an individual or for their family income can qualify as a Section 3 resident. Section 3 business concern, 51% or more owned by Section 3 residents, or 30% or more of the business permanent full-time employees are currently Section 3 residents, or within 3 years of the date of the first employment with the business concerned were Section 3 residents. Or they can provide evidence of a commitment to subcontract in excess of 25% of the dollar award of all subcontracts to Section 3 businesses. PRDOH has created various forms for maintaining compliance with Section 3, such as Section 3 Contractor Plan, a Section 3 Recipient Plan. These document templates allow contractors or recipients to identify how they plan on being in compliance with Section 3 hiring, training, and contracting goals. A Section 3 self-certification forms. These document templates help individuals and businesses identify if they meet the requirements to be considered a Section 3 individual or businesses. These documents are available as templates for contractors and subrecipients. And finally, the documentation of effort form. This document template allows contractors or recipients to identify how they are performing efforts to be in compliance with Section 3. Let's take a closer look at the Section 3 plans for contractors and recipients. These tools help identify methods to achieve Section 3 hiring, training, and contracting goals. They frame goals and data, facilitate planning, which makes compliance achievable, prepares coordinators for the day-to-day activities they will be performing, provides guidance on types of activities to be performed, foster awareness of HUD resources. Providing these templates have allowed users to feel comfortable planning ahead for compliance with Section 3. Section 3 self-certifications form. We encourage business and individuals to complete the PRDOH self-certification form to uncover if they meet the income threshold for a Section 3 resident or a Section 3 business. HUD business register. Once you complete your self-certification, we encourage qualifying businesses to also register with HUD as a Section 3 business. You have the link in that slide. Compliance with minority and woman enterprise contracting participation is also important. Today, we will briefly discuss some of the basics related to this topic area. As a recipient, a HUD financial assistant, the Uniform Administrative Requirements at the 2 CFR 200-321 require PRDOH to ensure that when possible, contracts and other economic opportunities founded in whole or in part with federal housing and community development assistance are directed to minority business enterprise and woman business enterprises. Contractors will take all necessary affirmative steps to assure that minority firms and woman businesses enterprises are reached out to and used when possible. Efforts should be documented and utilization plans should be provided to PRDOH. The Department of Housing has policy documents that use a practical approach to help contractors and subrecipients understand the commitment to these compliance areas. We focus on highlighting how Section 3 businesses can be identified and the types of efforts that contractors and subrecipients could implement to show their compliance. We encourage all to review, and these are available online publicly in Spanish and in English. Minority business enterprise is defined as a business which is at least 51 owned, operate, and controlled on a daily basis by one or more American citizens of the following ethnic minority or gender or military veteran classifications: African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, Native American, Hasidic Jew, persons with disabilities, other individuals who can prove social and economic disadvantage. A woman business enterprise is a business concern that is at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women. Must be USA citizen or legal resident aliens whose business formation and principal place of business are in the US or its territories, and whose management and daily operation is controlled by women. MWBE requirements apply to all procurement contracts of 10,000 or more. MWBE applies to professional services and construction work. The participation requirement is based on the total amount of each individual prime contract awarded by PRDOH. The MWBE participation requirement is 20%, 10% for MBE and 10% for WBE. These requirements may be met either through the initial contract award if the prime is a MWBE, or the requirement may be met through subcontracts specified within the prime bidder's proposal or bid. PRDOH has also created various forms for maintaining compliance with MWBE, such as MWBE Utilization Plan. This document template allows contractors or recipients to identify how they plan on being in compliance with MWBE contracting goals. MWBE Waiver Form. These document templates help recipients or contractors identify if they met the requirements to waive their goal for participation for MWBE. Documentation of efforts form. These document templates allow contractors or recipients to identify how they are performing efforts to be in compliance with MWBE efforts. And quarterly reporting template. This reporting form allows contractors and recipients to report on data that PRDOH will be required to report annually. Let's take a closer look at the MWBE Utilization Plan. This tool allows contractors or subrecipients to identify MWBE contracting goals, capture upfront data, stimulate conversation on compliance, prepare users for reporting, provide guidance on meeting the goal, awareness of registration. Training users on this template has also served in advocating for qualifying businesses to seek registration. We have provided these templates in Puerto Rico and have received Section 3 plans from contractors and subrecipients. We review them using a checklist and provided feedback using notification. This slide contains the link to those resources in case you would like to review them. These resources and more can be found in English and Spanish publicly for contractors to use. There you have the links on our webpage. Certified minority or woman-owned business can be those who have filed applications with federal entities such as SBA and others. Businesses who are certified can provide proof of completing these application processes to be recognized as certified minority or woman-owned businesses. CRDOH invites MWBE businesses to provide copies of their certifications with CRDOH. Our web form is available in English and Spanish. Another area of compliance is fair housing and equal opportunity. Today, we will briefly discuss some of the basics related to this topic area. Your RFP package also contains attachment number 2, model contract, which speaks to fair housing and equal opportunity areas of compliance that you will need to be in compliance with if you should be awarded this contract. Records to be maintained, records documenting compliance with the fair housing and equal opportunity requirements of the CDBG-DR program regulations. Attachment 2 model contracts also has a general compliance clause in 26 compliance with federal law, regulations, and executive orders. The RFP attachment 2 model contract document also contains Section 30, equal opportunity to ensure standards of non-discrimination in clause A and B. The contractor will not discriminate against any employee or applicant for employment because of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. The contractor will take affirmative action to ensure that applicants are employed and the employees are treated during employment without regard to their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Such action shall include, but not be limited to, the following: employment, upgrading, demotion, or transfer, recruitment, advertising, layoff or termination, rates of pay, or other forms of compensation, and selection for training, including apprenticeship. The contractors agrees to post in conspicuous places available to employees and applicants for employment notices to be provided setting forth the provisions of this non-discrimination clause. The contractor will, in all solicitation or advertisements for employees placed by or on behalf of the contractor, state that all qualified applicants will receive considerations for employment without regard to race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It also speaks to what could happen in the event of non-compliance. All recipients are responsible for ensuring compliance with federal civil rights and fair housing through their contractors, subcontractors, and ensuring all necessary efforts are made. The Fair Housing Act and Section 109 and 504 prohibits discrimination against the following protected classes of people. The Fair Housing Act is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Many executive orders, laws, and statutes govern the non-discrimination of protected classes to ensure equal opportunity for individuals in accessing federal funded programs. As a recipient of HUD financial assistance, PRDOH must ensure that all programs affirmatively further access to fair housing and all programs provide equal opportunity for participation and employment. PRDOH CDBG-DR programs will take meaningful action to combat discrimination, overcome historic patterns of segregation, promote fair housing choice, and foster inclusive communities. All CDBG-DR have the effect of discriminating against any individual from protected classes. Reasonable accommodation are changes made to policies, practices, services, and structures. Modifications to afford equal opportunity to individuals with disabilities. The costs associated with providing reasonable accommodations and modifications are to be incurred by programs receiving federal funding. HUD contemplates these additional costs as necessary to ensure that the programs and activities it funds do not discriminate against people with disabilities. The Reasonable Accommodation Policy and Federal Compliance Labor Standards Division can provide guidance on the handling and evaluation of reasonable accommodation requests. Limited English proficiency refers to a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English. Due to Puerto Rico high Spanish-speaking population, all entities using CDBG-DR funding must seek to ensure both that a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English or Spanish will not place them at a disadvantage in the participation of programs. PRDOH has recently approved its LAP plan to direct how PRDOH and its subrecipients and contractors will take action to ensure meaningful access for people who are LAP or LSP. We have also recently approved our Fair Housing Guide, Citizen Participation Plan, and are working with program areas on fair housing and equal opportunity reasonable accommodation requests. These policies will be available on the Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity webpage soon. The Department of Housing has policy documents for fair housing and equal opportunity, as well as a language access plan. These policies must be implemented by contractors and subrecipients. They are available publicly online in English and Spanish. We will not be covering Davis-Bacon today since it applies to construction-related contracts over 2,000 and for projects with more than 8 units. Let's jump over to documenting efforts and reporting. Let's briefly discuss how PRDOH establishes reporting requirements and training. Once awarded a contract, you will be able to participate in training sessions for your staff to be in compliance with these requirements. We have developed training curriculums which provide a step-by-step approach to learn, understand, and implement requirements for each program area. We will send invitations for training sessions both via Microsoft Teams and eventually in person when permissible and appropriate, once contractors are awarded and we are notified of the need of training. Our department empowers contractors and subrecipients by providing the right tools and templates to help make reporting practical. Our documentation of efforts templates has demystified the process of documenting efforts. This form uses drop-down menus and highlights efforts described in PRDOH policy documents. This approach allows the coordinators to focus on doing activities rather than trying to think of their own system for documenting efforts. This document is available in English and Spanish. Our reporting template helps us monitor and collect data, which we will be required to report annually. Our quarterly report templates cover Section 3 data, MWBE data, fair housing and equal opportunity data, and Davis-Bacon unfound workers data. Reporting forms. PRDOH unit report will capture multiple compliance areas of data all in one Excel form. I know, isn't that exciting? Section 3 data, new hires and training, construction contracting, non-construction contracting, effort performed, MWBE data, contracting for MBEs and contracting for WBEs, and fair housing and equal opportunity data, limited English proficiency, compliance with EEOC, workforce race and gender information, and obviously the Davis-Bacon unfound workers data. Awarded contractors will be responsible for reporting 4 times a year to ensure they are performing efforts related to Section 3 and MWBE. Our trainings will provide vital information to ensure contractors will be able to comply. The quarterly reporting template is also available on the PRDOH website. Let's briefly discuss some frequently asked questions. Can a business be both Section 3 and MWBE? Yes, a business subcontractor can be both because these compliance areas are separate. Section 3 identify level of income to determine status, and MWBE uses race and gender information to qualify businesses. If I am not planning on subcontracting, do I still need to complete documents? Yes, you should still submit your MWBE utilization plan, the documentation of efforts, templates, and quarterly reports. If Section 3 doesn't apply to my project, do I still have to complete the quarterly report? Yes, you will have to complete the MWBE report and the FHEO report areas. If I'm either an MBE or WBE, do I fulfill the total goals? You may have safe harbor for one of the goals for MWBE participation of 10%, but you will still have an additional 10% goal to show good faith efforts for any subcontracting or purchasing you perform with the CDBG-DR funding. What happens if I don't fulfill the goals before the end of my contract? All awarded contractors should perform and document efforts. PRDOH has developed templates discussed in this presentation that help you complete this exercise. You can submit a waiver before the end of your contract for approval. This waiver request should be submitted with the efforts and justifications as appropriate. The Puerto Rico Department of Housing ensures equal opportunity and offers reasonable accommodation for those who would like to use our services. Thank you for attending today's training. We hope that you found the material helpful. Please remember to direct all your questions through the established protocols for this procurement. William, Laura, and the PRDOH procurement team, thank you for the opportunity to present this material today. I will stop sharing the presentation so you can continue with the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. We have reached the end of this pre-bid meeting. We are aware of the questions submitted through the Q&A and chat section. And as I mentioned at the start, your questions and petitions will be answered in writing and or addressed timely after this meeting. Again, thank you for your participation in this meeting and hope it helps you in preparing a responsive proposal. Have a nice day.